How about that? So, all right. If everybody can hear me, raise your hand in the GoToWebinar hand raising control panel. I see hands going up. Always a good sign. Wonderful. Cool. We're ready to get started then. Why not? All right, well, welcome. My name is Michael Devlin with the Michael Devlin Group and eXp Realty, and this is a how to launch a successful real estate career. And if you have questions as we're going along, go ahead and type them into the chat. I might not get to them until the end unless, I don't know, I'm bored and my mind starts to wander during the presentation, and then I might go to the questions, but usually I do them at the end. And I'll make sure that all your questions are answered within reason, let's say. So tonight, we're going to talk about three topics. One is why real estate, and related to that is why now. And the reason that I'm starting with this is that usually if you're willing to take time off on a, what is this, a Monday night, in order to participate in, well, let's just say something like this. It's usually because you're looking for something new, something different, hopefully better in your business or professional life. I'm assuming that's why you're here. And if you're looking for something new, something different, hopefully better, why would you get into real estate, right? What are the advantages? What are the disadvantages? What do you need to do to be successful? We're going to talk about that. And then a related question is, well, even if you're interested in getting into real estate, why now? Is now a good time to get involved? Should you wait? What's going on with all that? We're going to cover that too. The next topic is going to be how to choose an office to affiliate with. Because once you've decided you want to get into real estate, well, the next question is with whom? There's lots of different kinds of real estate companies. They're structured differently. They operate differently. We'll go over what some of those options might be. And then finally, in how to get started, we're going to talk about what do you need to do to get a real estate license? What do you need to do to keep your real estate license? How long does this whole process take? And how much does all of this cost? That's what we're going to cover. I hope that is similar to what you wanted to learn because, well, you know, that's what I'm going to talk about. Let's start with the why real estate and why now. And I like to begin the discussion with some terms, some definitions. There's the word broker and the word salesperson. You might have heard those words before. And those terms refer to two different kinds of real estate licenses. You could get a real estate broker's license, or you could get a real estate salesperson's license. Now, in a sense, there's not a big difference between the two of them. If you have a real estate salesperson's license, you can do everything the broker can do, with two exceptions. If you have a salesperson's license, you can do everything the broker can do with two exceptions. One of them is be independent. Brokers, salespeople have to work for brokers. Brokers don't have to work for brokers. Brokers can be independent. The second thing you could do with a broker's license is, well, you could brag about it. You could tell everyone that you have the advanced license, the graduate license, the executive license. Most people have no idea what you're talking about, nor do they particularly care. Now, we're going to start off with being a salesperson because in order to qualify to become a real estate broker in California, you need, among other requirements, 2 years full-time real estate experience in the last 5 years or 4 years part-time real estate experience in the last 5 years. So I'm assuming you don't all have that. So we'll talk about how to become a salesperson first. Then there's the word agent. Now, the word agent really is more about a relationship than it is anything else. So an agent is somebody that is hired to represent another person called the principal in dealing with other persons called, well, they're called other people, third parties. So if there's no third party, if there's no other people, then there is no agency. Now, a way in which this often comes up is somebody who's thinking of getting licensed or has gotten licensed will ask me, they'll say, if I get my real estate license and I'd like to buy a house for myself or my family. Can I be my own agent, right? I've been asked that question many times. And if somebody asks me a direct question, I like to give them a direct and accurate answer. And the answer to that question is absolutely not. You can't be your own agent. And the reason I say that is because by definitions, agents represent other people. And if you're representing yourself in a real estate transaction, by definition, you are not an agent in that transaction. You're a principal in the transaction, and you can't be both. That, by the way, was an accurate and technically correct answer to the question. But I also know that that really wasn't the question they were asking me. The question they were really asking was, if I get my real estate license and I decide to buy a house for myself, can I save money on the commission? That's a different question, and the answer to that question is yes. But it's not because you're an agent in the transaction. You're not. You're a principal. But because you're a licensee, and when we use the term licensee, we refer to somebody who has either a real estate salesperson's license or a real estate broker's license. And because of that professional status, you could save money on the commission. But you're still not an agent in the transaction. And then there's the word realtor. The word realtor is a copyrighted designation of the National Association of Realtors, which is a trade association, which is sort of like a union. It's a lot like a union. It's a lot like the Teamsters Union. If you're not familiar, the Teamsters Union is a union you might join if you wanted to drive trucks, among other things. Now, my question is, do you have to become a member of the Teamsters Union if you want to be a commercial truck driver? Well, the answer is no. What do you need to drive trucks commercially? You need the license. If you have the license, you can drive the trucks. You might choose to join the union. There's some jobs you won't get unless you're a member of the union. They have training facilities and classes and retirement programs and medical insurance. They got stuff that you might be interested in. But there's a difference between being a Teamster and being a truck driver. And the same is true in real estate. You don't have to join the union and the Association of Realtors legally in order to sell real estate. What do you need to sell real estate as an agent and be paid a commission? You need the license, but you might choose to join the union. We'll talk more about what that costs, but let's just say if you're selling residential property, 1 to 4 units, you're going to probably join the union. So speaking of that, what can you do if you have a real estate license? I'll bet you already know that you could help people buy or sell residential property and be paid a commission. I bet you already knew that. The same is true for commercial. Now, I've had many people over the years say, I don't want to sell homes. I just want to do commercial real estate, business to business during normal business hours. I don't want to work evenings and weekends. I don't want to go to people's homes and meet them in their kitchen. And I don't want to do any of that. How do I get a commercial real estate license? And the answer is there's no such thing. There's just a real estate license. And if you have a real estate license, you can do residential, you can do commercial, and you can also do loans. Now, not everybody who does loans has a real estate license, but if you work for a loan broker, a mortgage broker, those are real estate brokers. Mortgage brokers are real estate brokers. And the loan agents that work for the mortgage brokers have real estate licenses. In addition to getting a real estate license, you also have to get the license endorsed, which means you have to take another class and pay another fee and pass another exam. And then you get what's called a mortgage loan originator endorsement, and now you can do loans. You also can do property management with a real estate license. So if somebody has a fourplex and somebody wants to buy a fourplex as an investor, there's a possibility that the investor buyer does not want to run ads in Craigslist to get calls from people and making appointments to show the units. They don't always show up. and to negotiate the leases and run the credit checks and to collect the payments and get the phone calls at night when there's a problem with the plumbing or the heating, right? Many investors don't want to do all that. They just want to get a check every month. And one of the things you can do with the real estate license is you can assist people in managing their property and be paid for doing it. A business opportunity is when we're selling a business, but not actually selling real property, not necessarily. Let's say you've always wanted to own a hardware store. Well, rather than just renting an empty building and filling it up with hardware, you could find an existing hardware store that's for sale. Now, the person who's selling it probably doesn't own the building and doesn't own the land. So the sale of the business is not a sale of real property. However, with a real estate license, it's legal for you to sell businesses, even when real estate isn't involved in the transaction, and be paid a commission. Mostly what I'm going to talk about tonight is residential. We also do commercial real estate. There's also the ability to do loans, but we'll focus on residential because that's a place where many people start. And if you have questions about the others, I'd be happy to talk to you about it, well, maybe later. Ways of holding a real estate license. Well, you could either work for a broker or you could not work for a broker, but you need a broker to work, right? Now, this sounds confusing to me sometimes, but where I'm going at with this is people have said to me, I don't really know what I'm going to do. Right? I've always been interested in real estate. I've always wanted to get into real estate. I don't really know what I want to do. Is it possible for me to get my real estate license without having a broker lined up or out even having maybe a plan as to what I'm going to do? And the answer is yes. Whether you have a broker or not, you can go ahead and get a real estate license. Now, the license, if you don't have a broker, is going to be issued to you in what's known as a non-working status. Now, a non-working real estate license is a lot like a non-working car. You can have it in your garage. You can show it to your friends when they come over. They can sit in it, and play around. But when they say, hey, this looks nice, can we go for a ride? You have to say, no, you see, it's not a working car. So you can get a real estate license without having a broker or without having a plan. You can renew it every 4 years. You can keep it forever without having a broker. However, you can't do anything that requires a license. You can't earn a real estate commission unless your license is attached to a broker. But you can get a license without a broker. Why are people attracted to real estate careers? Probably one of the biggest reasons I hear, one of the more common reasons, is freedom and independence. Right? It was a long time ago. I used to work for a very strange company. I always thought their system was just odd, the way they ran the business, because what they did is they told all of us what time we had to be at work each day. I mean, it was like they had some sort of a rule that everyone had to show up at a given time every day. They would tell you when you could go on a break. They would tell you when lunch is and when lunch is over. And at the end of the day, they would let you know that you could go home. I believe that arrangement is called a job. I think that's what that's called. Now, being in real estate is not like having a job. It's way more like having your own business in that you don't punch a time clock. You're an independent contractor. And the relationship that we have with our associates is not an employer-employee relationship. It's more like a business advisor or a business consultant to a business owner. You understand what I'm saying? We're not going to call you at 10 o'clock in the morning and say, hey, where are you? Right? It's not that kind of a deal. Now, the people that are most successful in real estate are people that understand this. And they say to themselves, this is my business, right? And it doesn't hurt, by the way, that if you've always wanted to have your own business, this could be an opportunity. It doesn't hurt that you have some business acumen, that you understand how businesses work, because it's a business. Guess what one of the biggest disadvantages to some people are about real estate? And the answer is freedom and independence. That's one of the biggest disadvantages. And I keep seeing hands going up. Oh, I guess I'll wait. Business. Freedom and independence, right? That's not always a gift wisely used. So yeah, I heard the story of the guy who went and joined a tech company. It was on his first day, and they're giving him the tour and the orientation. And at lunchtime, he's talking to some other people that have been there for a while. And one person in particular seems to have been there forever, it seems like. And he's telling them everything that's going on and where the company's been and where the company's going. And finally, the newbie says to the old timer, "How long have you worked for this company?" And the old timer says, "Ever since they threatened to fire me. That's how long I've worked for this company." Have you ever met people like that, where they work just enough so they don't get fired? And then the company usually pays them just enough so they don't quit, right? And they work out this sort of sick relationship. Well, I'm going to say it plainly. Real estate is a commission-only, non-salaried profession. Commission-only, non-salaried. What that means is it can be a very high-paying, hard job. And it can also be a very low-paying, easy job. And one of the things you need to be successful in real estate is you need motivation. You need to have a why. You need to be motivated to do it. And you need to have discipline, and you need to be able to be willing to get up and work and stick to a schedule, even if somebody isn't watching you all the time. Another advantage, the thing that attracts people to real estate, is the ability to make money. Not bad. How much money can you make selling real estate? Well, that would depend on a lot of things. One of them is how long have you been in the business, and how long have you been doing it, and how much training have you had, and how many people do you know? And frankly, some people are better at it than others. But let me give you an example. Let's say you sold an $800,000 house. Now, the median price of a house in Silicon Valley is a lot more than that. It's more in the 1.3 range, but you may not be in Silicon Valley. The median price of a home in the state of California is about 770, something like that. It's sort of in that general vicinity. The amount of, now, if there's a sale of a house for $800,000, there's two sides to the transaction. There's the seller and the buyer. And usually they're represented by two different real estate agents, two different real estate companies. Now, the amount of commission that would be paid to one side, let's say you found a buyer who wanted to buy an $800,000 home, the amount of gross commission that would be paid as a result of that sale would be about $20,000. For our $800,000 home at a 2.5% side, that would be $20,000 gross commission, $20,000. So think of it this way. Let's say in 1 year you found 6 people who wanted to sell a home, and they eventually sold it, and they were all $800,000 homes at a 2.5% side. And then you also found 6 people who wanted to buy a home, and they eventually bought a home, also $800,000. You would have earned $240,000 in gross commission income, right? 12 transactions at $20,000 each. So I guess the first question is, could you live on that? 240,000. I know you'll have to cut back a little, but could you live on that? Now, let's say you bump that up to where you were doing 2 or even 3 transactions a month. Well, you get the idea. In that scenario, if you had done $40 million in sales, right? I'm going high now, $40 million. So you sold $40 million homes, or $22 million homes. I may be writing an offer on a $3.7 million home. Talk to the buyer today. You get there a lot quicker. But given that calculation, if you sold $40 million worth of real estate, your gross commission income would be $1 million. Right? You could earn $1 million from selling $40 million homes in 1 year. And I know what you're probably thinking, that if you grossed $1 million in commissions, you would have no idea how you could possibly spend all that money. I'm sure that was a concern of yours. But one of the things, maybe not, but one of the things that you could do with that money is you could invest in real estate. There's an old saying, buy land, they're not making any more of it. And most people that retire and have some sort of a stability or have money in their later years do so as a result of investments in real estate than simply being able to save the money. And if you want to be an investor in real estate, being in real estate is a good place to be. You see properties before other people gets their hands on them. You know more about financing options. You know where the market is moving and shifting and things like that. So there's an old saying that we might live on our commissions, but we will retire on our investments. And then finally, there is security. Now, for an independent contractor, being a real estate agent, security may not come, jump right out as a obvious trait of being in that business. But let me give you an example. I had a friend who went to San Jose State, got a degree in mechanical engineering, went to work for Hitachi in their hard drive division, did well, had lots of patents and all that. And after 28 and a half years, they laid him off. They told him it was nothing personal, and he, didn't think it was because they laid off the whole department, the whole division. They shut down the plant. Now, I'm not saying my friend was a perfect engineer, but even if he had been a perfect engineer, he still would have been laid off. It wasn't that they decided that he wasn't doing a good job. They decided we don't need anybody doing that job in this area anymore. Because in real estate, it's your own business and you're an independent contractor. What that means is that you can be bad at it, you can fail at it, but you really can't get fired. Let's say you don't get along with us. Well, you could take your license and go work for another broker. Let's say you don't get along with anyone. All you have to do is tough it out for 2 years, go get your own broker's license, and then you can be all alone, right? I'm not sure how that's going to work, but you get the idea. You can fail, but you can't get fired, right? And there's some security in having that much control over your future. Ways of approaching the real estate business. You can be an investor agent. And I'm going to talk about some of the different options later about the companies and things like that. But there's always been investor agents. Talked to a couple today. I've noticed that there may be more of them now. This is my anecdotal, observations. And so an investor agent is somebody who real estate is a part-time thing. In other words, they're in real estate because they wanted to be an investor, not necessarily because of their focus on being a real estate agent. However, once they are doing one, it's pretty easy to do the other. Investor agents usually have another job or some other commitments, and they're doing this in order to enhance their investment portfolio and all of that. You also could be a part-time agent. Part-time agents are, you could say an investor agent is part-time, but part-time agents in my definition is a little bit different. And there's two kinds of part-time agents. First of all, by part-time, what we mean is dual career, right? They've already got another job or maybe a family or other commitments. So they're not really able to devote full time to real estate business. And there's two types of those agents. One is what I call the permanent part-time. And the permanent part-time is somebody who doesn't want to quit their current job. That's where they get their medical benefits. That may be where they're meeting all the people that they're helping buy, sell, or invest in real estate, right? And that's an option. Then there is the transitional part-time agent. And the transitional part-time agent wants out of whatever it is they're doing now. And their goal is to get real estate going so that they're making more money in real estate than they are from their current job, so they can quit their current job and do real estate full-time. Both of those are options. Now we have the full-time agent. The full-time agent might have a family, might have some other commitments on the side, but essentially is available during the day and full-time, pretty much, in terms of the number of hours they have available to be successful in real estate. And then there are big-time agents. And a big-time agent is somebody who's gone beyond being a solo agent, and they've developed a team. The team might be a local team to start with. It might become a regional team. I have people in my team that are in Sacramento. There's people in Southern California. I'm talking to people in Georgia. A big time agent might have team members in other states. We know that people from the Bay Area go to Sacramento. It would be good to have agents in Sacramento. We know that people go to Nevada from this area, that they go to Texas, you get the idea. And our big time agents are expanding and they're growing, and they have other agents that work for them. So if you're a full-time agent or even a big time agent, some of the challenges or opportunities are these. First, you need to understand that this is sales. That being in real estate means you're in professional sales. And what sales means is that you're paid to talk to people about real estate. The more people you talk to, the more often you'll get paid. If you talk to some people about real estate, you'll get paid some. If you talk to a lot of people about real estate, you can get paid a lot. It's a function of how many people you talk to. Now, the good news is that virtually everyone you know and everyone you're ever going to meet is a potential client. I mean, if we ask the question, what percentage of the American public now or in the future plan on buying or selling or investing in real estate, it's pretty much everybody, right, would like to do that. So the question is when. And you need to know that at any given moment, 90% of the people are not going to buy, sell, or invest in real estate. So the fortune is in the following up, because eventually they will. The more people you talk to, the more you get paid. Well, who do you talk to? You start by talking to the people you know. Why? Because you know them. And the people that you know may be interested in buying, selling, or investing in real estate, or they might know somebody interested in buying, selling, or investing in real estate. After you've talked to the people you know, you're probably going to have to talk to the people you don't know, because you may not know enough people to make a career just out of talking to them. So you understand the point of this is, let me see if I put it better. If I asked you, how do you feel about selling your home? You might say, no, I'm not interested. No, thanks. Now, some people take that as a rejection, right? I asked you if you wanted to sell your home and you said no, right? You rejected me. Now, that's not really rejection, in that you just don't want to sell your home. But if you said to me, well, actually, Mike, I do want to sell my home, but under no circumstances would I ever use you as my agent, well, now that's rejection. You don't get that very much. So I guess where I'm going with this is that the people who make the most money in real estate have been told no the most often. They've been told no the most often. They've also been told yes the most often. And that's because they've talked to people. How do you feel about talking to the people you know about buying, selling, or investing in real estate? How will you feel about talking to people you don't know, realizing they're not all going to say, yes, I've just been waiting for a real estate agent to ask me, right? And then you also have to have the organizational skills to follow up with the people, because the fortune is in the follow-up. We know from studies that about 70% of all the real estate transactions come not from the initial talking to somebody, but following up with them later. If you're doing real estate full-time and you don't have another job, you might need as much as 6 months reserves before the income starts coming in. Now, I hired an agent in June who did an open house that I'd found for her in the first couple of weeks. And she found a buyer at the open house who wanted to buy the house, and they bought the house, and she got her first commission check at the end of July. Now, I'm not saying that's typical. I'm saying that's possible. So it doesn't mean you have to wait 6 months. But if you found somebody today that wanted to buy a house, how long will it take you to find them a house to buy? How long will it take to get them into contract? Because there may be other people bidding on homes and it may not be the first one that they're going to get. How long is it going to take for that transaction to close? You understand the typical real estate transaction is 30 to 45 days. You get the idea. It could take a few months before the money starts coming in. You also, if you're doing residential real estate, have to be prepared to work evenings and weekends. Not as much in the commercial, but in residential, we have to make hay when the sun shines, right? The old saying goes. In other words, you're going to have to be available when your clients are available. And if your clients have jobs, then that means evenings and weekends. How do you feel about working evenings and weekends? And by the way, this is also why you could do this part-time, because while you're working, they're working. And when they're available, you're available, assuming you have somewhat similar kinds of, schedules. You have to be a self-starter. You have to have self-discipline. You have to organize yourself. Now, we have coaching and we have mentoring and we have ways to help you do this, but you get the idea. Nobody's standing over your shoulder, watching you and telling you what to do. It's also, as I mentioned, a non-salaried profession, commission only, non-salaried. And you're going to need a couple of $1,000s in startup capital in order to get through the licensing process and all that. I have a breakdown coming in a little bit. What do you need to succeed? Well, a goal would be nice. How about that? Now, and then once you have a goal, maybe a plan and a schedule for implementing the plan. I'll give you an example. Let's say you are happy with the one transaction a month plan, right? So if you sold 12 homes, by the way, if they were $1 million homes and you sold 12 of them, the gross commission would be $300,000. At $800,000, 12 homes is about $240,000. So let's just use 12 as a starting point as an example. So if you want to close a transaction, and we back up and ask, well, what has to happen before you close a real estate transaction? That's an appointment, which means you have to have an appointment with somebody who's interested in buying, selling, or investing in real estate. Now, not every appointment translates into a closed transaction. And over time, your ratio is going to get a lot better because, frankly, you get better at it. But let's say, just as a beginning number, that you have to have 4 appointments with buyers, sellers, or investors before anybody buys, sells, or invests. So if you want to close 12 transactions, you're going to need 48 appointments. Now, what that translates into is 1 appointment a week for 48 weeks. You can take a month off. You're in real estate. Take a month off. So if you had 1 appointment a week for 48 weeks and you converted 25% of them, you would close 12 transactions. All right. How do I get an appointment a week? Well, you're going to have conversations with people about buying, selling, or investing. How many conversations do you need in order to find somebody that wants to make an appointment? Well, your mileage may vary. Let's say it's 50. You're going to need 50 50 conversations with people about buying, selling, or investing. You're going to need 50 conversations in order to get an appointment. Well, that breaks down to 10 conversations a day, 5 days average a week. So if you talk to 10 people a day about real estate 5 days a week, that would be 50 conversations, which could lead you to 1 appointment a week, which would be 1 transaction a month, which means you could go buy a Tesla maybe. Just saying. So now, well, okay, that doesn't sound too bad. 10 people a day, one appointment a week, that doesn't sound so bad. Who do I talk to and how do I talk to them and all that? We have all that for you. And that would come through our training and our coaching and our mentoring. Following up and websites and social media marketing and all of the tools and systems that real estate agents need in order to be successful. Yeah, we got that too. And how to use all that stuff together into a plan and a schedule is what we need to do to help you be successful. What would a schedule maybe look like? And it varies a lot. This is a nice, pigeonholed one, but I'm telling you things come up and people, I'm writing a counter offer and then they're writing other things come up. But as an example, you would need to block out times for lead generation preparation. Now, lead generation preparation means getting ready to talk to people about buying, selling, or investing. So that means this is who I'm going to be talking to today, and this is what I'm going to be talking about. And you might spend some time organizing that. And then you would spend some time actually having those conversations with the people you know and people you don't know. And there's a list of some possibilities there. And then you have servicing of business because we have emails and text messages and phone calls and you have to make fly. There's a lot of things involved in servicing a listing. Lunch and lead conversion means following up with people that you've talked to in the past. More servicing. There's appointments where we're showing the property, talking to people about selling their homes. That's the kind of stuff you do as a real estate agent. For many real estate companies, it's a teeter-totter in that there's this relationship between the amount of commission you earn and the amount of service that you get from the company, right? And as a general rule, right, for most normal, let's say not normal is the right word, but traditional brick and mortar real estate companies, in a traditional brick and mortar real estate company, the more money they pay you in commission, the less the company does to help you. Also, they charge fees. Many of the fees, well, my background, by the way, is I spent a really long time, let's just say, at a company called Century 21. And I also spent 7 years at a company called Keller Williams. And if you were at those companies, they charge $200, $300 a month just for the privilege of working there. And there's lots of fees involved whenever you sell anything. The commission splits are not that high because they're expensive places to work. As a general rule, brick and mortar traditional companies, the more they pay you, the less they do. But it doesn't have to be that way. So we also have an apprentice program, and maybe I have that later. This is fine, which is for people that are in the process of getting licensed. And what we do in order to make it so that when you do get your license issued, you're going to hit the ground running, is we have weekly coaching and training sessions that you can participate in. I get you a pass to what's called the World. I'll explain a little more what that is. And we also give you some guidance and training on what you could be doing now while you're getting licensed to get your business set up and get going, right? There are things you could be doing even before your license is issued. How is the real estate market? Well, the first one came from, that was a November 12th article, I guess, from, I forget where, but the National Association of Realtors economist Lawrence Yun has predicted that in 2021, prices are going to rise about 3%, and the sales are going to go up 9%. Now, that's actually, let's just say that in the last year, the percentage increase has been more like 15%, 12 to 15%, depending on where you are, and sales are even higher than that. So the predictions for 2021 is that prices are going to still go up, but not as much as they did last year. Sales are going to go up, but not as much as they did, in 2020. And one of the things about this is that there's a pool of foreign investors that are poised, as the article said, to flood, this is from Axios, to flood the United States real estate market. You might have heard that that all of the sky is going to fall and there's a bubble and it's going to pop and there'll be a depression and all the prices are going to plummet and you'll be able to buy real estate really, really cheap. Probably not. And there's also a lot of foreign investors that are waiting to pick up any slack. And that's because no matter what you think of our market, which by the way is really good and strong, it's probably better than where they are, and they would like to invest the money here. What's happening so far, this is also a November 17th article, the California home buying season has extended into fall. Home sales and prices remain elevated in October. And then the final little chart on the end is the baseline, not the best case scenario, not the worst case scenario, of what's going to happen in 2021. And they believe that there's going to be a 3.3%, this is for California, increase in the number of sales and a 4.4% increase in the median price for California, a little bit better than what the national averages are. So let's talk about picking an office to work with. You have choices. One choice is there are little boutiques, right? Little offices, little independent offices. They don't have a lot of rules. They might pay a decent commission split. They might not charge very much to work there, but then they don't do anything to help you, right? They don't have training and they don't have tools, they don't have systems, they don't have stuff. Then there are franchises. Century 21, where I used to work, was a franchise. Keller Williams is a franchise. Remax is a franchise. Realty One is a franchise. There are a lot of franchises. And by the way, the company that owns Century 21 also owns Coldwell Banker, ERA, Better Homes and Gardens, Sotheby's, Zip Realty, Klein Realty, and I'm sure I've forgotten one. And then though that whole group, that whole discussion of the franchises and the independents are referring to traditional, excuse me, real estate companies. I'm affiliated with a company called EXP, which is not a traditional real estate company. First of all, we're international, and our current locations, you can see, are highlighted in blue, but we've already begun the launches in some other countries. And you can see that where we are now is in the United States and Canada and the United Kingdom and South Africa and Australia. However, in Portugal, and we're opening up Mexico, and I guess France is also part of, Portugal and France are part of the openings, and India, right? So in the very near future, we're going to be in Mexico, France, Portugal, India, as well as the other companies and countries, and we're growing. In fact, we've done very well this year, and I'll explain there's some unique reasons why. But at the end of the third quarter, the number of agents working at EXP increased 56% year over year, right, to 35,877, a 4,786% number of agents increase in the third quarter, which is the largest in our history. Our transaction sides increased 95% by the third quarter, and 112% in volume. Volume refers to the value of the properties being sold. Revenue went up by 100% in the third quarter, 564 million compared to 282 million in the third quarter of 2019. Our profits grew 103%, and I'll explain why that could be of use to you. And we made 15 million in net income, which is a 910% increase, which means we're doing very well financially. Our stock is doing very well too. And what's different about the EXP model from all of those other companies that I mentioned is the other companies are brick and mortar traditional real estate companies. Some of you may be old enough to remember a company called Blockbuster. You may not have known this, but there was a time when Netflix was struggling, and they actually approached Blockbuster to buy them out. And Blockbuster said, no way. Why would we need you guys? We've got the market locked up for movies and things like that, and turned them down. When was the last time there was ever a Blockbuster open? Right, so Blockbuster went away because the cloud-based service of Netflix replaced them. Circuit City, where are they now? Well, they're gone, and that's because Amazon, a cloud-based shopping, replaced them. And what we're doing at EXP to traditional brokers is what Amazon and Netflix did to Blockbuster and Circuit City. We're disrupting and replacing the traditional real estate brokerages. And one way we do that is we're also in the cloud. Like Netflix is in the cloud. That means we don't have desk fees because you don't have desks, right? You can work from anywhere. And we've eliminated the brick and mortar costs. Now, because we don't have all of those leases and facilities all over the country, it means we can invest a lot more money in support and technology. All transactions these days, by the way, are pretty much paperless anyhow. And also the training and support and everything is available through the cloud. In terms of training, there's more than 50 hours a week of live training that covers everything you need to know to be successful in the business. From how to fill out a contract, to sales and listings, to how to generate leads, how to use social media. CRM refers to customer relationship management software, other technology tools, including websites and all of that. Plus, we've recorded them in case you're not available during the day to attend the live classes. The other thing that might, if you're in the tech world right now, one of the things that is a big perk with working for a technology company is stock, right? So you can have stock options, and that gives you an ownership in the company, and the stock can go up. We have a similar program. It's a traded company. EXPI is our NASDAQ stock abbreviation. And I'm set up so that every time I close a transaction with EXP, 5% of the money that I get as commission goes towards purchasing stock at a 10% discount. Now, these other companies, the Century 21s, the Coldwell Bankers, the Keller Williams, the Berkshire Hathaways, and all of those, you're not going to become an owner of them unless you bought a franchise, right, and rented a brick and mortar building. And franchising, by the way, is sort of an old model, right? We're not a franchise. But and Berkshire Hathaway, by the way, is owned by Warren Buffett, and Warren Buffett, he's not sharing with you. He's not, right? He doesn't need your money. So the opportunity to have a stock ownership in the company you're working for, that becomes something you get beyond what you would get at a traditional real estate company. We also have a revenue share program. And of all the money that comes in to EXP, 50% of it is given back to our agents in revenue share. Let me say that again. 50% of all the money that goes to EXP goes back to the agents in terms of revenue share. Now, I'll give you an example. Why not? I'll do it now. So how much is that? It depends on whether or not you're a solo agent or you're part of a team. I have a production team, and so I'll give you an example. Remember the $800,000 house. At a 2.5% side is $20,000 in gross commission income. Now, most real estate companies have what we call a baseline commission split. At Keller Williams, it was 70-30. Century 21, it was 50-50. At EXP, it's 80-20. Now, there's an initial period when you're being mentored and all that where it's a little bit different, but 80-20 is the basic split. What that would mean is if you sold an $800,000 house and the gross commission was 20,000, you would get 16,000 and EXP would get 4,000. Now, if you were on my production team, your cap, and the cap means how much commission you have to pay to EXP, would only be $8,000. What that means is that when you had sold two $800,000 houses, then EXP would have received $8,000 in company, we call it company dollars, and that was the cap, which means that all of your transactions after that for the rest of that year, you're at 100%. You're at 100%. But out of that $8,000, which is the maximum that you would have paid to EXP, 4,000 of that 800,000 is shared with the agents as part of revenue sharing. 50% of all the money that EXP receives, they give back to the agents. Our world, right? I made a comment about that earlier about getting a pass to it. Our hub, as it were, for all of the different services and technology and the training and everything we do is in a virtual world called EXP World. And as you can see, it works on a laptop, it works on a desktop, it works on a cell phone, it works on a tablet. And it's a cloud campus environment. And you have an avatar, you go to classes. I was in one today. You can have technical support. You can go talk to accounting. You can talk to the broker. All of that is done through a cloud environment. And you might be already getting the idea of why our stock has gone up so much, our agent count has gone up so much, our sales have gone up so much, because we've been doing this for a long time, a cloud-based brokerage, and then the pandemic came along. And when COVID-19 hit, all of the other major real estate companies were scrambling to figure out, how do we do this? People can't come to the office, right? But they've all rented oftentimes very expensive brick and mortar buildings, but people aren't coming to the office. It's not safe to come to the office. People are staying away. And all those companies were scrambling to try and figure out, how can we run our companies without being in physical locations? We weren't worried about that because we had already been doing that for a decade. Because we're a big company, all the marketing you would need, flyers, brochures, for sale signs, business cards, everything is already done. You don't have to take classes. You don't have to hire people. We've got all of that already figured out. Just some quotes. One of the things that I always like is when Real Trends referred to us as the Amazon of real estate, right? Where the Amazon model, as Medium says, of zero physical infrastructure, real estate, you're next, right? We're the disruptor in the real estate brokerage status quo. So I mentioned about the commissions and all that. If you are not on a team, but you're a solo agent, your cap would be $16,000, which would mean, using that $800,000 example where EXP was getting $4,000 each time, it would take 4 transactions in order for you to reach the $16,000 cap. By the way, if I close the $3.7 million property, I've already capped. And our commission split is 80-20, right? And after you've reached 8,000 if you're on the team, or 16,000 if you're solo, then you're at 100% minus a small $250 transaction fee, but the rest of it is 100%. To get started is $149 and $85 a month for our, which is for the cloud brokerage fee. That's for the training and the technology and all of the other stuff that you get as a result. When you close a transaction, there's a $25 fee for broker review and a $40 risk management fee. And I have to smile when I say that, because at Century 21 and Keller Williams, those fees were $250 to $350. Right? They were just way, way higher than that. How big is EXP? We're the number 5 real estate company in the United States by number of agents. And we're also, of that group, the only one that's not really a franchise. And so we're the #1 independent real estate company in the United States and the 5th largest real estate company in the United States compared to anyone by the number of agents, also based upon transaction size. We're the 5th largest real estate company. Now, what that means is that we're big enough that we have the tools and the systems and the training and the infrastructure which you're going to need when you're getting started to be successful. The little companies might have, they don't have the technology, they don't have the systems, they don't have the tools. You have to be big enough before you can actually be able to purchase those services for your agents at a price that's, that's not ridiculous. How to get started? Getting your license. So in order to get a real estate license, there's 3 things you have to do. 1, you have to complete 3 college level courses in real estate. 2, you have to pass an exam given by the California Department of Real Estate. And 3, you can then get a license. In order to apply to take the real estate exam in California, you have to have a course in real estate principles, a course in real estate practice, and an elective course. And the elective can come from anything on this list. Now notice on the list is accounting, economics, and business law. The reason I mentioned those 3 is you might have taken accounting, economics, and business law from a junior college or better any time in the past. And if you can get your hands on a copy of the transcript, it doesn't have to be an original. This isn't like applying to Harvard. You've got the 3rd course. I've had people say, I have all 3 of those. Congratulations, but only 1 is useful for this purpose because you have to have principles, you have to have practice, and you have to have 1 on this list. If you're saying, well, I don't have accounting, economics, and business law, what am I going to do? Legal aspects of real estate or real estate law is included in our package. And by the way, of all the courses on this list, that's the one the Department of Real Estate is going to ask you the most questions about. How would you get your college level courses? And you could go to college, but our program involves an online college level course. Now, the way an online college level course works is like this. You enroll in the course. You'll get a link to the course website. You log in, and there's a button that you click that says start the course. That's important, because once you've clicked on that button, a timer basically starts ticking. And in 18 days from the day you started the course, in 18 days, you're eligible to take the final exam. That doesn't mean you have to take the final exam in 18 days. You could take a lot longer, but it means you can't take the final exam any sooner than after 18 days from when you started the course. The final exams for the 3 college level courses are online final exams. You can take them at home, and they're an open book test. Let me go over that one more time. The 3 final exams that you have to take to get through the 3 college level courses are online, at home, open book, cheat as much as you want to final exams. You understand? You can cheat as much as you want to. They give you 3 hours to get 75 out of 100 questions correct. Did I mention that this is an open book test? Now, the reason they make you wait 18 days to take the final exam is because you could pass right now. If we gave you the book and 3 hours and internet access, you could look up 75 answers in 3 hours just starting cold right now. That, of course, would make the whole thing seem like a waste of time. So the Department of Real Estate makes you wait 18 days before you can take the final exam. I hope that you realize that what I've just described is not the hard part of getting a real estate license. You're saying this is not the hard part. Online, open book, cheat as much as you want to, final exams, not the hard part. What is the hard part? Well, you have to then go take the state licensing exam. That is not an online at-home test. You have to go to one of their physical testing sites. And right now, the Department of Real Estate does the testing in Oakland, Sacramento, Fresno, Orange County, and San Diego. That's it. And it is not an open book test. And you can't cheat. They're watching you to make sure you don't cheat. And the state exam is 150 multiple guess, I mean multiple choice questions. A, B, C, D, pick the best answer. No essays, no true false, no fill in the blank kind of questions, just 4-part multiple guess questions. Out of those 150 questions, you need to get 70% of them right in order to pass the state exam. Does that sound like a high score to require? You're laying on your operating table and the brain surgeon comes in and he says, don't worry, I passed the brain surgeon's exam. I got 70% of those. I nailed that test. I got 70%. Now, you see, that doesn't sound very good, does it, for a brain surgeon, 70%? You understand that means that your brain surgeon missed more than 1 out of every 4 questions they asked the brain surgeon about the subject of brain surgery. That doesn't sound very good. The 30% he didn't know, maybe that's what he's doing to me. Now, my point is pretty simple. You don't need to be a brain surgeon to get a real estate license. You might have already known that. You don't have to be a brain surgeon to get a real estate license. All you have to do is get 70% of the questions right and you're in. Having said that, every time the state gives this test, they fail more than half the people in the room, many of whom they have failed before. You can take the test an unlimited number of times. I have met too many people that have taken the test more than 10 times. So the failure rate, by the way, for first-time takers is way higher than 50%. Right? Way higher. 50% is every time they give the test, they fail more than half the people. Many of them they have failed before. And you need to understand that everyone the state is failing, all of them have successfully completed those 3 online open book, cheat as much as you want to, college level. They all did. So my point is, doing the 3 college courses does not mean you're getting a real estate license. It just means you've done the minimum amount that the state requires for you to go take a shot at the exam. What I do is I teach people how to pass the test. I have 12 live classes. They're on Wednesday nights from 6:30 to about 8:45, broadcast on the internet and recorded. They're in a rotating schedule. It's like a pizza in that there's no first slice. I'll start with that. There's no first slice to a pizza, right? The pizza just has 12 pieces, and whichever one you take, that's the first piece. I don't have a first class either. They're taught as independent modules. They don't build on themselves. You could start with any one of them. They're all equally confusing at first. You could take them in any order. You could repeat them as often as you can stand it. The investment in all of this is $398. And the $390, and I'll get to your question, Anthony, in a minute. $398. That includes the 12 live classes, the video replays, the course outline. It includes an extensive practice testing program. It includes the 3 college level courses and a Saturday cram class, I think is the technical definition, that you take before you go take the real estate exam. I have a high pass rate. Virtually everybody who goes through the course passes the exam in the first try. You ought to check out my Yelp reviews. I recommend that you sit through a class for free as our guest so you can see if you like it or not. Once you've passed, we have a placement program where we assist you in finding an office. It could be anywhere. And I have a 100% tuition rebate program. The $398 that you pay to go through the course, you can get back on your first transaction. We'll throw in an extra $398. The timeline for all of this, and I think I have 2 versions of this, the timeline for all of this is about 4 to 6 months because of the college level courses, the license preparation, the state exam, the waiting to get your license issued. 4 to 6 months, and that's pretty much what that says. And that my assistant, we were making some changes. What does it cost to get into real estate? Well, let's say you went through my school for $398. It's going to cost about $305 to take the test and get a license. Fingerprint processing is about $75. We can sort of draw a line there, right? Now, if you're not serious about real estate and you're doing it as a hobby and you don't want to join the board of realtors or the MLS, we could talk about that. But if you're serious about real estate and you want to make a lot of money in it, you're going to need to have access to the forms, to the software, to the multiple listing service. And as you can see, joining the Association of Realtors, the union, is about $650. The multiple listing service just to get started is about $475, $1,900, and you're in. Now, that may seem like a lot to some of you or not a lot. If you're starting a business, this is a pretty small number, but that's roughly what it would cost to get started. And then looking at what do you pay for MLS on a month and for the company, and what's the Association of Realtors look like on a monthly basis. And so you're looking at about $1,900 to get started and about $200 a month. $1,900 to get into the business and about $200 a month when you're in it, roughly. Your license is good for 4 years. Every 4 years, you have to do 45 hours of continuing education. That's how to get a hold of us if you would like to ask us more questions. I have great Yelp reviews, even though they filtered a lot of them out. In all the time I've been reviewed by Yelp, I've received 1 4-star review, right? Since 2012, I've received 1 4-star review. Right? I've let go of it. I've stopped looking for the guy, but the rest of my reviews have all been 5-star reviews. If you'd like to check out a class, you go to my website, dreclass.com, click on the button that says attend a free class, fill out a form, and I'll have a class this Wednesday. You're welcome to sit through it, or next Wednesday, or whatever will work for you. If you've decided, I don't need to sit through a class, I just want to get started, how do I do that? You go to dreclass.com, click on the sign up now button. That's the $398. You fill that out, and you're in. And that includes everything that you would need in order to get licensed. That, I'm pretty sure, is the last slide. And let's just see. We had some questions. Oops. So let's see. I finished my classes and waiting to take the state exam. Looks like all available exams are filled. Is there anything I can do to get an exam date, or is it going to be a waiting game? The way to get a test date sooner is to be willing to go someplace beyond Oakland to go take the exam. Right now, they're not giving tests in Oakland. So I had somebody pass today. She went to Sacramento to take the test, but she lives down in the San Jose area, but that's where the tests are available. You might want to, when you log into what's called e-licensing, and they show you the available test dates, if you're willing to travel a little bit, you can probably find a test date a lot sooner. Sometimes people drop out and they cancel because they chicken out, and you could jump in then if there was an opening. I hope that answered that question. Any other questions? Isabella, do you have a question? You had your hand up, but that just might mean you're waving at me. Did you have a question that you wanted to ask? Some people are shy. Motivated, thank you. All right, I'm not seeing any more questions right now. I must have either done a good job or a bad job then. So if you think of one and you'd like to talk, let's say you've got a reason you'd like to speak to me directly afterwards, if you reach out to us, we'll set up a time to talk. It could be Zoom, Google Meet, or just on the phone, whatever works for you, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have individually. Other than that, I think I'm going to call it. Thank you all for attending. I look forward to seeing you in class. And this is a good time to get into real estate. Things are cooking right now. Good night, all. If I don't see you on Wednesday, have a nice Thanksgiving, but there'll be a class this Wednesday night since we're all, not traveling around anyhow, right? We're not doing that. All right. Good night.